Omega Communications. She does past life regression hypnosis. And 7 years ago, I have a very unique experience with her. She helped me to do my first past life regressions, and that really shocked me a lot and helps me to dive in deeper into this spiritual awakening. And I'm very grateful for her guidance. And after 7 years, I like to come back and interview her with questions in my mind and probably in everybody's mind, more about the past life regressions. So
wonderful. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. And I want you to tell me comfortably, in your own space and time, and if you can help me to answer some of my questions.
Sure.
And that would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
So the first one is, when do you start doing past life regression hypnosis?
Well, I actually trained in 2014, and that was a couple of months, 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
That was July 2014. And Dolores Cannon, the quantum healing hypnosis technique that she created, she passed into spirit 2 or 3 months later in that year.
Wow.
So I did her training, and ever since then I've been doing more training and expansion of consciousness and working with people. So my introduction to it actually became quite important in my life. In 2013, I found a practitioner here in Auckland who did it. She was also a clinical hypnotherapist, but she went through the protocol for the quantum healing hypnosis technique, QHHT.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, when I was doing personal energy sessions, I could see, when I was working with people, I could see in their energy field if there was a different lifetime that was affecting them now.
Wow.
And at the same time, I was able to bring through intuitive messages for them. So I went along to the practitioner to find out, is this real? Am I seeing truly and correctly? Where's the information coming from? And why do I have this strong urge to help people in this way? So I went quite easily and readily into the trance states to access that information, different lifetimes, and I got my answers, as well as some healing, because that's part of that technique. It's not just accessing past lives, it's accessing the energy to clear that pattern that gets brought forward into the present.
Yeah, like in my case, it really helped me a lot.
Yes,
yeah, when
right.
I can see in my past life, it has all different connections in this lifetime.
Yes, yes. And so it's that pattern, that energy, the imprint that stays in whatever dimension or level of our energy field.
My God, that's awesome.
Yes.
How does it start to come into your mind? First get all this information. How did it happen?
I was quite young, and going back into a memory when I was perhaps 5 or 6, we lived in the area Taupo, and by a lake. Well, we weren't close to the lake, and the population of that area was about 2,000 at the time. And I used to play in the pine trees next door and on our section. And I became aware that there was an energy around me, and I saw it was as if I was enveloped in a circular room. And of course, in that age, that was in the 1950s, I couldn't describe what I was seeing. I could look out through these circular windows and see stars outside.
Wow.
And in this space there were like screens, round screens with different images on. Well, of course, now we could relate that to what we see now,
Yes.
videos or whatever. And this beautiful tall woman was there. And I, in my mind, was trying to ask her, oh, who are you? And she said, just call me tall lady. Names are labels that we don't really need.
Oh my
Because
God,
I
yes.
know you and
Yes.
I know your energy and you know my energy. So there was quite a lot involved in an exchange there that I was bringing back as an act of memory. And she said part of the information I would remember when it was needed, and the other part would somehow activate me or help me stay connected to that higher point of consciousness. And I would forget that
Mm-hmm.
until the time was right to remember. So I went on living my life. I was diagnosed with an illness when I was 9 years old. And my family were involved in spiritual healing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was quite a lot of connection. And we were introduced through a family member to a trance medium. He had his own spiritualist church. Not where we lived, it was about 6 hours drive to visit him.
Mm-hmm. He's
So-
also in New Zealand?
Mm.
Okay.
So 9 years old, I was diagnosed with this illness, and the specialist warned my parents I would be in a wheelchair before I was 14.
Wow.
So they were drawn, and there's no coincidences, no accidents,
Yes.
but they were drawn to see this spiritual healer, and they would take me to see him every month for healing and answers. And they almost, in a sense, trained my father to also do hands-on healing.
Mm-hmm.
And we would go to see him. He would come up to Taupo, he and his wife, this healer medium, and he would go into a trance and bring through healing or energy and information from other beings.
So when you saying going to trance, does it still have his own consciousness?
No, he
No.
was not aware of what was being said.
Oh, wow.
That was really deep trance, and his face would change.
Oh.
It's called transfiguration.
Okay.
But the effect of that was, when we went back to the specialist in the hospital, he could not believe the change in me.
Mm-hmm.
He said it just doesn't happen, so much improvement. But there was a change in diet also,
Okay.
and supplementing with cod liver oil, basics.
Yes.
And so what are we told in these days?
Yeah.
Vitamin D3,
Yeah.
which is in cod liver oil.
Yes.
And it was just called cod liver oil at that stage.
Yeah.
So anyway, that triggered a lot of memories for me. And this medium, in his own small spiritualist church, he would have people on stage, clairvoyants, he could see things. And I knew, by this time I was maybe 10 or 11, I knew I could be doing that sort of work. But it was to come through in a different way. Not psychic predictions or who you're going to marry or anything.
Yes.
In
Those
that
are not
vein.
important.
No, it was much more on a more expanded
Yeah.
level.
It's really on
Yes.
your life purpose.
Yes.
Yeah. Everything, all those mediums help. I feel that it's always a connection of higher self,
Yes.
like leading you into your true life purpose.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Exactly. it
So-
is.
the sickness, the illness that you had when you were a child or a
Yes.
teenage time,
Yes.
that kind of like a sort of contribution to bring you into this path?
Yes, it certainly triggered it.
Yeah.
And as I went into late teenage years and early 20s, I became much more aware of intuition,
Mm-hmm.
of knowing certain things were going to happen, and they would. And so I started to explore my own spirituality and my own, expand my own consciousness.
Wow.
And then I would get my own messages,
Yes.
and I would be able to tune into, we would call them guides,
Yes.
or a higher level of consciousness.
Mm.
There's various degrees and levels that we access, and I used to write it down.
Oh.
Because in those days
Yes.
we didn't have
Yeah.
recording devices,
You have to write
phones.
it down.
Yes. So I would write down the messages and pages and pages.
Oh, that's so
Yes.
lovely.
Yes,
Yeah.
and just you follow a pathway then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the higher self level of consciousness. Yes.
And how do you even have done past life regression yourself?
Yes, well, the first one was the QHHT practitioner here. But before that, I could go into meditation.
Oh,
You just go
okay.
into meditation
Mm.
and I would ask, why does this happen?
Mm.
Or ask with questions, and I would be shown certain things. But
Does this show as an image or as a message or some voice in your head?
I would see images and have a knowing what that was about.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, that was interesting, but I didn't know what to do with it really, how
Okay.
to clear what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the training that we get helps you to go the step further
Oh, okay.
and to call on the energy to clear the pattern, to change it, to give you answers why that happened.
Oh.
So spontaneously I would go into different lifetimes like that.
Okay.
And that also was part of the journey of expanding consciousness.
How many past life that you have shown to yourself?
Oh,
Do you remember?
a few, no, because quite often once you've seen them and realised them and realise if it has an impact on
Yes.
today's life,
Yeah.
then they dissipate.
Okay.
They just don't exist there anymore.
Wow.
So that means
There's no point to look at it anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
That seems very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. And what was the principle of past life regressions?
The principle really is to access those energy memories. We might call them memories, we might call them imprints from other lifetimes, and they could be past, present or future. So they're not always what we call past lives. They can be aspects of us. Some people might say, a soul aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be just simply another aspect of the pure one consciousness having an experience in a parallel lifetime. So this is really multidimensional. But
How
the
do
past,
you know which one is the past, which one is the present, which one is the maybe future?
yes, well, sometimes there's a true knowing and a feeling. And often you can ask
Okay.
what it is. Is this, past, present or future, different aspect. Some of them are all connected. It's like a vast web of threads connecting everywhere.
Okay.
And yet we still refer to them as past or other lifetimes, simply because there might be an energy imprint or an attachment, and that attachment could be a vow or a statement we made at the end of that life experience that we would call that other lifetime, that stays with us. And it's like in one of my lifetimes, this is still in my mind, so it's quite interesting. It was in a Chinese lifetime.
Oh.
And I was a herbalist. I worked with herbs.
Yes.
And I was assigned to a Chinese person, a royal family type.
Okay.
And one of the children became ill, and I was tasked with curing this child. And it didn't happen. The child died.
Okay.
So I can still feel that.
Wow.
They took me into bush or forest, and they cut off my hands and feet.
Oh my God.
So it was, that was a really powerful thing that
it does leave a traumatic imprint
yes,
on you.
and
right?
so of course at the point of passing out from leaving that body, I had made some sort of vow, I'm never going to help people again, because
of
this,
the bad consequences
yes,
to you.
and I'm never going to be important enough to be noticed. And that again is part of me because I like to work in the background.
I see.
So even as I'm telling you this and bringing it forward,
Yes.
I am also shining a golden white light from our pure state we're in now, back to that aspect of me. I was a female, and just lifting that, almost like a burden, the pain from me now. And I have a sense it just shifts like a dark cloud goes away. And that, I must have had a strong cord because I felt it in my solar plexus. And that also is going out from me. So this is important work you're doing.
Yes, it's beautiful.
And we're doing.
Yes.
Yes. So much love, also love and understanding to the other people, the beings involved in that.
It's helping.
Yes, because they were just doing what they felt was the thing to do, the right thing to do.
Yeah, at that time.
Yes.
You know, that's the rule of society, and what can you do?
Yes.
It's not your fault, but you took it as, you know, I'm not good enough, I didn't do the job correctly.
I failed, yes,
Yourself,
exactly, yes.
And that brings you this lifetime, you know, trying to hide from, trying to be shine. Right?
Yes.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful.
And so the other lifetimes, that other lifetime also, it's like these threads that the memory is brought forward into whatever other lifetime that we might experience. And all of that gets shifted from one reaction of clearing the pattern.
Yes.
It's a pattern, so it opens up the limitations and it opens up the pathway to the full potential that we have. We have the potential, and it's a concept, and the potential of who we are and why we are in certain places, certain lifetimes, remains. There's almost one original intention for the purpose of your consciousness manifesting in different lifetimes. So there's this...
So that connects to the future. Many possibilities that you can become.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
And it's all present.
Yes, it's all present. It depends on how you decide your life, your experience.
Exactly.
And where to shine your energy and light to.
Yes. Yeah. And that's right. Your choice, it's choice.
Yes. Wow. Okay. That's beautiful.
So it's like choosing the pathway that is light. We use the word light, but light is energy, and energy is everything.
Yes. Yeah. It's infinite possibilities. And your choice which one to take.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, that brings me to next questions. I understand you have like a higher connections with a higher being. So as you just told me earlier, that was happened in about 5 or 6 years ago. Oh, well, 6 years old. Yes.
Oh, yes, that's right. And as I got into the late teens and early 20s, and that decade of 20s to 30s, I was drawn into groups to connect with my higher self and my guides. And
How did it happen?
Possibly going to various groups.
Mm-hmm.
In meditation centre, there was a major meditation centre in Taupo. It still is there today,
Mm-hmm.
Tauhara Centre, and meeting people there, learning to go within and connect to the higher self. Now, the higher self has access to many dimensions and many beings who would come to help us.
Oh.
And there's always like this team that there are various ones will come forward at certain times. They might make themselves known as a guide or a spirit entity, or even some people say, oh, I have this special bird that I see who comes and tells me things.
Okay. So it can come in different form.
Yes. So I opened up, oh, now this brings up the memory. Yes, I was perhaps going through a quiet time. I would finish my office work that I was doing and go to the lakeside, Lake Taupo, and just swim. And this particular day, the water was really rough, probably not terribly warm either, but I went in for a swim, and there in front of me was this beautiful white feather floating on the water.
A small one or big?
Quite a big feather.
Yeah.
Quite a, like I would hold my hands and it would be like that, quite long, yes. And I picked it up, and I knew that was the name of my spiritual guide.
Wow.
So that guide came to me as a Native American with the wisdom that they have.
That's interesting. Native American coming to New Zealand to give you.
Well, yes, because it's not even in New Zealand, it's in another dimension that exists everywhere.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I got it.
And perhaps it was to do with, I could have been reading some books at that time that we were getting information from the native races, the indigenous races.
Yes.
Some of the first peoples, I think they were called.
Yes.
Who had a very close connection to the star people.
Yes.
And so this one named White Feather, so much love and support and guidance, and I would write his messages down. And I came in contact with another woman who could channel, and she lived in another town, Rotorua, about an hour's drive in those days from Taupo, and I would go and we'd sit in a circle, and she would bring through guides, and sometimes I would bring through this white feather being entity.
Okay.
Until there was a certain time, I think he said I had progressed enough that he could leave, because as I progressed in my realizations and understanding, he also learned from me. And the energy shifted him, and he could move to another level, another dimension.
Wow.
So it's fascinating. It's always two.
Two ways.
And our higher self can come through in many different ways. And the higher self can come through with healing and information for us in the present moment. And it is said to me that every time we expand our consciousness or our realization, it helps the higher self. So the higher self comes to help us, but in a sense, we also help the higher self to evolve.
Wow.
So that's a big concept as well. It's not always what we think it is. It's multidimensional, which I just love. It's so amazing. So the past lives can bring all of this into the present and into amazing realizations.
Are they always like communicate to you by knowing, by meditation, or any other forms?
I like to tune into open a connection to my deepest highest self. It's almost like relaxing my mind and stepping behind my mind
Mm-hmm.
and letting the words flow through.
Okay.
And so it's like hearing the words in my mind. And that started me bringing information through to other people.
So you are more like let your own consciousness step back and allow
Yes.
the body for the higher self to communicate.
Yes, that higher self-consciousness. The
Wow.
quantum consciousness.
Quantum,
I've
yes.
sometimes reframe it as that now.
Yes,
'Cause
it's
it's
Dora
everything.
Kenneth have mentioned quantum energy,
Yes.
quantum, yes.
And it knows, you see, it knows everything
Mm-hmm.
about us as an individual,
Mm-hmm.
and it must know also about what we're connected in with
Yes.
and what we're here to do on earth in this body,
Oh, lovely.
on everybody we've had.
Wow.
And that body, I just have to speak about something else that comes
Sure.
up, because
Mm-hmm.
in the hypnosis sessions I do, which really just helps people easily go into those other states. A recent one, this person, she said, I don't know where I am, I'm dark. I said, well, look around to see if there's any light. Yes, I can see a light. Oh, she said, it eventuated, she could move out into the light out of some confinement area. She was a butterfly.
Oh.
And she was conscious
Yes.
that she was this thing named a butterfly.
Butterfly.
And there were many of them. And I said, oh, well, what do you do? And she said, humans watch us, and it brings joy and happiness to the humans. And that was part of her purpose. And was also a message for her, because one of her questions for the subconscious or the quantum consciousness to answer for her was, what's my purpose? What am I doing here?
Yes.
And the butterfly, by being its natural self,
Yes, it's for
was bringing happiness and joy.
yeah, for other people to observe me.
Yes, yes, and the butterfly just lived doing that.
Oh, beautiful.
So we can be anything, not
Yeah.
necessarily a human. There's the creatures, there's trees, there's ants, there's rocks
Yeah.
that I've had people experience themselves as, and as like an etheric being that associated with plants and flowers. This one woman, she was a spirit, she couldn't describe it really, but it was like a flower fairy, and she was feeding off the essences of flowers, and she was also helping the flowers with their energy.
Okay.
So
that's fairy existing in
yes,
yes. We
Yes.
can't see them obviously.
some people can.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
but
keep hearing
mostly-
other people's yes.
But of course some of those beings also lived in what we called Lemuria.
Mm-hmm.
They were very etheric beings.
Is New Zealand a ex-continent of Lemuria?
That's what I was told and brought to believe and understand. It still exists, that energy still exists.
Yes, yes. I
And-
heard other people was also mentioning that,
Yes.
especially in the Maoris.
Yes.
Yeah, in their
yes,
culture, they believe like it's part
Yes.
of Lemuria.
Yes. And the energy is there in the plants,
Oh,
the
wow.
healing
The
herbs
healing,
and everything, the land. And a lot of the beings who existed
yes.
in that state chose to remain here as the energy spirits. So they still exist here,
Okay.
maybe in a different web of existence,
Mhm.
a different dimension,
Yes.
and they're still serving a purpose.
Wow.
It's mind expanding.
Yes. It always comes out like don't know what to say. It's
Yes.
just mind exploding.
Yes, I know.
It
And,
opens
but it
another
shifts
one.
the patterns, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Like it keep giving you bombs in your head. You know?
Mm.
So hey,
Yes.
come on.
Another
Expand.
explosion of light.
Yes, that is so true. Okay, let me.
I might have gone off your question there. Did
That,
I, did I
that's
answer?
fine. I love having this kind of out of questions answer.
Yes.
Because that's what it leads to the
Yes.
exploring more. My question is just confine the space. So let's explore
Yes.
out of it. No problem.
Yes.
Whenever you feel you need to explore into something else, go ahead.
Right.
Okay. Why is the higher self so interested in helping human spiritual evolutions?
Mainly because our higher self is meant to be, not meant to be is not quite the word, is always connected with us, but is always connected into the quantum level of existence, the highest evolved consciousness. And the impulse, might be the potential of that, was to bring that higher vibration into the earth energy consciousness.
Why do we need to do that?
Earth is changing and evolving. Earth is like an
A life
energy
being,
being,
right?
yes, itself. And so it could have been drawing all of us here to help it evolve on that quantum level.
Yes.
And so the higher self is part of that activation of an expansion of consciousness into, I suppose we could call it civilizations of enlightenment, of light, of support, of valuing all life. And we can see how life and civilizations became somewhat distorted, if you like, from the true principle of what life and existence is. Now, some people might say, oh, the higher self brings you here to learn from all the hard things, and it's a hard life living on earth.
Yes.
Well, that seems to be choice. And it exists as if there's a layer when we come into the human form, there's a layer of resistance or a cloud of, it's almost like there's this level that doesn't want us to evolve.
Yes, they want you to be like submissive to all the what's it's been planned out. You just follow my plan. Don't question.
Yes.
Just keep working.
Yes, that's right. And that is all a distraction from who we truly are.
Yes.
That higher evolved self.
Yeah.
So I've gone beyond in my realizations of thinking about karma, whether that's good or whatever level we would think about this thing named karma.
Causal result.
Yes, and it can be cancelled, and I've seen it as if there was this list of things you had to do or resolve, and it's like on a slate, a blackboard, and it's wiped clean.
Yeah.
Once you start connecting with your true higher self.
Oh.
And just opening up to bringing the light in. Now, of course, light is one of those terms that's labelled and can be mislabelled, perhaps misused, simply because we're, in a sense, limited in our understanding, and we're limited by the framework of labels, which are names and titles. And there's much more behind the word light. Light is a huge concept of enormous potential beyond our comprehension maybe at the moment. when we say, oh, light is everything, light is energy, we still have only a limited understanding of it. Yes. So it's like keeping, I want to know more. And every time we have aha moments,
Yes.
We step further beyond the confines or the limits of our consciousness, and we step into more of the expanded field.
Okay.
It's of a continuum, really. It's but what we do now is so important. So connecting to our higher self, which has the fullness, the full knowledge of who we are, what we are.
It's not easy for everyone, you know, who have a job, have a family, you know, have a mortgage, have all this material, you know, abundance to drive their soul down, their energy. It's heavy for them.
Yes.
How
But
could
again, there's the choice. They can begin to realise, like someone who doesn't know anything about what we're talking about, the first thing is often to say, don't you often feel that there's something missing? Don't you often feel there's this mysterious universe out there? What are the stars? What creates everything? And it's like saying, have you ever thought there's a higher level of you that gives you these thoughts, that watches what you think? You know, sometimes you can say, I was thinking this. Well, who knows that you were thinking that? There's a higher aspect that you realise is thinking, oh, I don't know why I did that, or I don't know why I drove that particular way. Oh, well, why did I? And it's like connecting to that higher knowing. And people would say, oh, I had a gut feeling. Oh, I just had a feeling about that.
Okay.
And that's starting
That's
to
a
connect
sign
to
of,
the higher self.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And it only takes a moment.
Yeah.
You know, we wake up out of sleep and we come back, sometimes we come back through dreams and we're thinking, oh, I was dreaming. And as soon as you open your eyes, some people will start thinking about, oh, I have to do this today. When you can retrain to thinking, I first connect with my higher self and all of the beautiful energy to help me today. And the higher self is there to help. The higher self is always loving, supportive, helping.
How do they help? Do you first have to ask?
Often, yes, I feel you have to ask or consciously make that connection. Just simply by the words, I now connect with the higher self.
Okay.
My higher self, or whatever.
All right.
Very simple. We complicate things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually, if you look into all the problems, it's all because you make it more complicated.
Yes. Now, the other thing is this about this higher self.
Yeah.
In the trance sessions, accessing the information from the higher self, or as Dolores Cannon called it, the subconscious, the greater consciousness, the quantum consciousness. A recent person I had here, and I was recording her session for an hour and a half, when she thought it was about a quarter of an hour, and she said, well, I was aware when you asked the higher self to come in and to talk, she said, I was aware of this light above my head speaking, giving me information.
Okay.
So she was aware of the higher self as a light.
As a light, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you see the current state of human spiritual awakening?
Oh, there's a huge spiritual awakening. Many people are connecting in on these greater levels because they are aware there's something more. Now, they do it through different ways. They might be following someone who's doing guided meditations, they might be following a discarnate spirit, a being from dimensions of light.
Yes.
They might be feeling, they might be doing certain practices of yoga or crystals or many different levels, but it's all part of activating a higher light field, and we are being given assistance. Now this is really important, and a lot of people are aware of the rays of light coming through the sun are changing. Now science might be saying
they see probably very like minimum of what the real changes are.
oh yes, but they might be saying, oh, there's different UV lights coming through. Protect yourself from it. Yeah, cover yourself in chemicals and protect yourself from it.
Yes.
Whereas the true light, which is coming through the sun, and the sun is a gateway or a portal, is activating a higher level of sequences in us, which has been natural in us.
Oh.
Now, science would say they are aware there are only a percentage of our brain active.
Yeah.
There's only a certain percentage of our DNA active. Well, the good news is that this magnificent energy we've been receiving for some time now is activating the natural codes within us, and this is...
Which you used to call the junk DNA.
Yes, or just holes in space or gaps. Yes, junk DNA. It's being activated, which releases certain natural chemicals, natural processes within us, which is actually moving through our bloodstream, moving through our energy field.
And this is physically happening right now.
It's physically happening, enlivening us.
Wow.
And so it's going to bring in more awareness, more energy. Our energy field is being cleared.
Yes.
And enhanced. And so this means we're becoming more aware of energy fields around the planet, around us. And we're becoming aware that we can use what's coming through the sun as natural healing, and to use it to enhance. Well, the plants, of course, are already receiving it because they have no resistance.
Yes.
They are just accepting
what's coming.
the rays of light. Yes. And many of the animals, the creatures, are also open to that. So we're being activated in many ways, and this is expanding our consciousness field.
Wow.
And so it's expanding a greater field around individuals, around groups, and around the planet, and this is breaking through that layer that we spoke about that hides the truth.
Yes, we can see now that's a lot of things that is provoking by the mainstream media, still provoking about wars. They wanted to start a war.
Yes.
Yeah, they wanted people to hate each other, you know, through these racial conflicts. That it's all, but those things, it seems like not as easy as, you know, as before, that easily can be provoked anymore. They cannot, you know, the power of those provocation is getting weaker because people don't buy it. They don't get it.
Exactly. Yes,
they refuse to take it.
Yes. Many people are not watching mainstream media anymore.
Exactly. I don't give a shit about, you know, what they say about, you know, on, we know you are lying.
Yes.
In front of us.
Yes, there's more. We're taking back our true connection, which is very empowering.
Exactly.
Yes. And we're learning a great deal more. We're learning how to access higher dimensions of ourselves. Yeah. So this brings me round to bringing back to one of your earlier questions about the higher consciousness,
Yes.
higher self, and higher beings that are coming forward to help us.
So they have their purpose is coming to help us.
Yes. And so if we think about us, if we were our very highest evolved self,
Yes.
or very highest evolved being, would we come back to help?
Yeah, I guess
Yes,
so.
I think I would.
I would, yeah.
And so some of the galactic beings that people connect with from other galaxies, other planets, they could be higher aspects of ourselves coming back to help us.
Yeah.
Ooh, now,
That's interesting.
Is that another
Wow.
mind-blowing?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
Yes. And
So we could be from different galaxy.
oh yes, we could be an aspect of the energy,
Okay.
of the impulses that come through different galaxies.
Wow.
And most of it seems to be beamed through the sun
Okay.
as a portal, again, a gateway into the greater connections. And maybe, we know about our sun as the centre of our galaxy, and is our galaxy known as the Milky Way galaxy. But there are other galaxies who also have a central sun. And so all of those will be connected. It's like
all the suns in different galaxies they are
aspect.
portals?
I think they
are.
Yes, I think there's a connection. There's this multi-dimensional energy network, a matrix,
Yes.
energy matrix. Now, we have that overlaying our planet,
Okay.
and in a sense it can shield us perhaps from energies that we may not be able to cope with. Whereas the sun, coming through the sun, the energy is helping us to cope with changes also. So that's part of our activation of these other codes within us.
Yeah.
It acts so that we can adapt
To this.
yes.
changes.
Now we know over eons of time, Earth's atmosphere has changed,
Yeah.
and other planets have a different atmosphere, so they would see the light that we see as a different colour.
Okay.
And so often people who go into a different lifetime where they've existed on a different planet, the light looks different, they'll say.
Yes.
Yes, so, but somehow it's all connected and all relevant, and so over eons we know Earth has gone through huge changes. It's natural evolution and
Okay.
progression. It's not climate change.
No.
It's not through
So
cows and although
yeah.
pollution of the atmosphere through different
Carbon
things.
dioxide
Yeah.
or kind of
Might have.
but
But Earth has a natural cycle.
cycles.
The natural volcanic
Yeah.
work, and the core of the planet is molten. It brings up energy, and tectonic plates shift to
Yes.
reveal more energy coming up. So it's a process. So we can get lost in that in a way, but we are still needing to maintain our connection to our higher self, also who knows a greater plan. Now the greater plan, if we think of a blueprint,
Yes.
and in the early architectural days there was a blueprint, and it was a graph perhaps, and electrical blueprints had lines connected,
Yeah.
and so we have this energy blueprint of us. So does the Earth, and we could call that an energy matrix.
Are we
And-
all connected to the Earth blueprint?
Yes, we are. We receive, and we need to be synchronized with
Okay.
that energy blueprint, which is also synchronized with the solar portal blueprint for creation, from source creation. It's almost like this energy matrix field connecting us all. And we talk about that in our body as meridians, as our channels of energy. And they also need to be cleared. So part of our higher self energy is helping to clear these energy patterns throughout the planet
Okay.
and to clear them throughout ours so that we can take in more of the light energy frequency pattern.
Oh.
And this is creating new civilizations.
Yeah.
So that it's
Wow.
there's so much involved in that. It's like a concept that I'm talking about, and a concept we might have only an understanding of one part of it,
Yes.
but more of it will come in as we allow it, as we adjust. We have to adjust to all of the information.
Yes,
receive.
it's huge.
It's energy.
Mm.
Energy and information, light energy and information.
When it comes to you, I had a feeling that it can be overwhelming, and it takes time to slowly like sort it, all this information
Yes.
and put them into the right places. So you will connect with your higher self to understand how to use it.
Exactly. It's a process
It's a
that we
process.
integrate and allow to unfold.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
That's
And it will. It will because that's what our destiny is, really. Yes.
Is it important to keep doing meditation or having a good balanced healthy diet? What else? What other advice you could give us to improve our connections with higher self?
Truly, you've said it all, because it's important to connect first with the higher self, and you can actually sometimes feel that as an energy coming in through you.
Oh,
so
okay.
the meditation is a way, it's a
Yes.
pathway,
Yes.
because you're opening yourself up without analysis, without thinking about judgment or anything like that. You're just opening it up to that
You're just
vital
allowing.
essence. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And it sort of will connect you. I often see it individually, personally, as a flow of light,
Wow.
as if my higher self connects with the energy coming through the sun, and that connects with source creation, and I align with all of that, and it's like comes in through the top of my head,
Yeah.
and comes in through, touches the pineal gland,
Oh yeah.
and that lights up, and that then has to connect with, there's an energy at the very tip of our spine,
Okay.
and in mechanical terms, with old spark plugs, as I understand it, there's a spark between 2 points
Okay.
that starts the engine.
Yeah.
Well, the light coming in through the pineal gland, which is like this beautiful orb of light, and it should be shining and scintillating and pulsing with light, that connects with the light at the top of the spine, and it flows down through a central core channel.
Which is also within our body, like our
Yes,
spine.
it sort of parallels the spine. It could envelop the spine,
Okay.
but it is not actually what we think about as the spine and its vertebrae, and yet it goes everywhere. But it's this core channel that flows right down to the base of our spine, and it actually then connects right down into the earth, beneath our feet, into the earth energy system. So there's this flow of energy that comes in, that we bring in and we allow it to come in, and this can be a really quick exercise when you think about it.
Yes.
We just bring that energy right in through down through our core energy channel, and of course that flows down through our arms and hands,
Yes.
and maybe up, and down through our legs and feet, into like another sun beneath our feet, within the earth, within the core of the earth, if you like. And then that flows up again and round, and that can clear many circuits throughout us, the meridians.
Okay.
So that's a way of connecting in. So right now, when you're in tune with your higher self, you're more in tune with what your body needs to eat, and so that's
So your body will
naturally-
tell you?
Yes, you'll feel, oh, I'd just love to have a salad today, or I'd just love to have that particular fruit.
Food. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to feel the energy of that. And even if it's fish or something else, you'll feel drawn to what is needed for the body.
Okay.
And then it's like you're aware of the vital energy of whatever you're eating. So it's best to avoid things that are heavily processed, that the life force has gone out of it.
Yeah, true.
But as
Foods that stay on the shelf, let it stay there. Don't even take it into your body.
Yes,
Yeah,
except
the
I think there are
process.
some things like cans of beans or rice and things, they still maintain an energy. And I think even freshly frozen vegetables can still retain
Some sort of
energy.
Okay.
Yeah, and vitality.
Yeah, for me, I try to eat all fresh. Yeah, fresh produce. Either it's fish, it's veggie, or fruits. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just don't want to take anything in the package.
Yes, right. Yes. And then there's the water.
Yes. I notice
Dolores,
you have a beautiful water taste. It's different
it
than
is filtered.
Oh,
It goes through like a carbon filter
Mm-hmm.
to take out fluoride and chemicals. And,
Why is it important to take out all these chemicals?
Well, I think those chemicals are not so natural to the body, and so the body has to make extra effort to eliminate them
Yeah.
so that it doesn't disturb our natural energy system. Oh, I'm getting confirmation about that, getting tingle in the back of my head. And
That's
but
your
if you
higher
only-
self want you to talk more on that.
well, even if we are only able to drink tap water, as Dolores was told by the higher self, the subconscious, you hold it and you beam light into it to detoxify it and to enhance it with what's needed, the vital energy essence. It's always more. And
Yeah.
people say, oh, well, I drink pure distilled water. Well, why would you drink that? Because the life force has gone out of it.
Oh.
It's
okay.
gone through a condensation process
Yes.
that it's devoid of life force. It's pure distilled water,
Yes.
but it
without any
doesn't have,
light.
like spring water has the life force in it.
It's a beautiful one. We all know that. The taste of it, the
Yeah.
sweetness.
Yes. So even though we might only have access to town council tap water,
Yeah.
we can still enhance it and clear it
Okay. I also.
by intention.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's true. I also read about Sangan crystal can help, providing more clear charge
Yes.
water.
Yes, definitely crystals can do that.
Yeah.
And especially you can impress the council or the crystal or ask it to do that as well, or thank it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because the crystals have living energy. They're almost like a consciousness themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, it is.
Fascinating, they have an energy.
They do.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
wearing crystal on myself, on my
Yes.
body. The moment I hold it, I feel the energy of the crystal.
Right.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, even if we were on a desert island
Mm-hmm.
or in the middle of a desert somewhere,
Yeah.
no trees, no water, we could draw on what we needed because there's crystals in the sand in the earth.
Yes. Yeah,
And
that's true.
and even science knows that we have liquid crystals in our cells. And we have this, we're often told about, and the beings I work with will sometimes talk about crystalline energy throughout our body. It's a liquid, flowing crystalline energy.
Can you explain more about that? I hear this word a lot.
Yes.
And crystalline energy or
And our crystalline
body.
Yes, yes. It is described like that because it is a higher energy field.
Mm-hmm.
So it's often seen as flowing colours, like we see in a rainbow when we see
Yes.
that prismatic effect of the light shining through the water, and it gives those colours. Somehow every element within us, not just within the bloodstream but within every cell, there's a centre of almost like a liquid crystalline energy. And that is also what's in the planet. So we're being enlivened. It can be, we talk about crystals as receiving.
Okay.
We first had LCD watches. They had an LCD screen and computers and televisions. And in a sense that was flowing plasma or crystalline energy, receiving. And so our whole system, we're receivers.
Oh.
As well as giving, flowing out. We're receiving the impressions and energy as well as it flows out into our energy field, which also is connected into that whole energy matrix around the planet and everyone.
Wow.
There's this, it's a symbiotic process and world we live in. So in a sense, because we're receiving all the time, we need to be careful who we...
Receiving.
Yes, and who we're contacting with in our daily life.
I found that can be quite annoying if you, like, sometimes you might feel, oh, there's a bad luck happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be just some negative energy, negative people.
Yes.
And if you don't know how to block it,
yes,
then you become negative too, and it affects your life and make you, pay for it in a way.
Yes, because somehow your energy field has been lowered and you've connected with that energy.
Yes.
Whether it's from a person or a place, who knows? But our higher self, when we connect with that, strengthens our energy field.
Okay.
So, and it can cleanse our energy field as well.
How do you, if you come to connect with negative energy, how do you know? And how do you, stay away from it?
Well, some people might come to it just by passing someone in the street.
Yeah.
Or in a shop. And you come home and you think, oh, I suddenly feel tired.
Oh, okay.
Or drained.
Yeah.
That's when one of the first things, of course, is to just run your hands under running water.
Okay.
You don't have to desanitize them. It's just running water clears, and then you can
take a shower could.
Oh, absolutely. That's important, but sometimes you can't do that straight away as soon as you come home.
You can wash your hands.
Yes, with the intention, because the energy is flowing down through you all the time, through your hands. So, and of course the other way is simply taking in natural breath and breathing in light from your higher self again. Mm-hmm. So that's another way that it can be as simple as that.
Okay.
And then, sometimes we can be aware that we are in contact with something that may have been there for a while. And that could be from a different life pattern. So there's many things, but initially we often know if we suddenly feel really angry, and where did that anger come from? Was that mine, or is it something I've come in contact with someone? So again, it's that deep breath, the cleansing, the higher self. Cleanse me now, cleanse me now, cleanse me now,
Yeah. So do you think anger can be brought in by a past life pattern or imprint?
Yes, it can be, because anger is just an emotion that's a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be a reaction to someone you've seen. It's usually a sense that's not right, something's not right. And so we react and anger, of course, is huge energy, isn't it?
Yes. It can be like a volcano exploding from
Yes.
within. Yes.
And maybe in some other lifetimes we've had, we needed that to activate us to run away from something, to escape, give us the adrenals or cortisol or something, fight or flight. And so then it's interesting, as soon as you realise that, it can dissipate it.
Okay.
But it can
normally
be helpful.
when you are angry, you do not realize that.
No, we're in the moment.
Yes.
That moment of absolute action and reaction. So yes, it can be triggered from a different lifetime.
Okay. How could you
Yes.
like control that anger in the peak, time that when it's exploding?
I know. Well, we have to be aware enough that we're feeling the anger and start. That's just laugh at it in a way.
Okay.
That's not really me. And you could laugh at yourself. Why do you do that? I mean, I still could get angry at myself over silly little things. Why did I knock that over?
Yes.
Something minor. And it brings that reaction that perhaps we weren't aligned initially,
Okay.
clear enough. Because if it was an anger at something or someone else, then we are observing it straight away from a sense of not being aligned with our true higher self. Because our true higher self would really not have reacted. It would have observed what we were being shown or what was happening. And it would then not react. It would immediately come in with energy that was required to change.
Okay.
In a sense, it might have been someone or some action needing help. And we had an opportunity there. But, I mean, that's the ultimate way to react. I think generally the more clearer we become, the less that anger comes up, the emotion.
Yeah.
And even if it is from some other life experience, it has come up in this lifetime to be cleared.
Oh, okay. So maybe it comes up for a reason.
And it could come
Yes.
up, there might be similar scenarios all through the lifetime
Yes.
that are just trigger points.
Yes. Trigger points. Once you realize that it's just a trigger point, then you
Yes.
can take a look at the big pictures to understand what's
Yes.
going on.
Yes. And of course the anger will usually dissipate anyway,
Yes.
naturally, as you leave that scene of whatever happened and you get on with your day, and then sometimes we have a review and that's when we think, I maybe shouldn't have acted like that.
True.
And really, we have to put a hand on ourselves and say, I love you. I love myself.
Yes, I love myself. Joe, please don't be angry.
Yes. I forgive
that's so
myself.
beautiful.
Yeah. And so I give forth my love to that aspect of me that reacted in anger.
Yes. I have another big question. How can I start to learn about quantum healing hypnosis technique?
Well, individually for you, you learned because you had a session.
Yes, because I love it, and
Yes.
I feel I wanted to help others to
Yes.
experience what I have been through,
Yes.
because I feel that is probably the fastest way
Yes.
for me individually to have my connection with higher self, to understand the karma
Yes.
and how I deal with problems I have in life.
Yes.
I
Yes.
become much more happier and open-minded.
Right.
And
Okay. Well, the training is available online.
Okay.
The official and the basic training, which is quite intensive, and it's a method, the Dolores Cannon technique,
Yes.
QHHT, dolorescannon.com.
Oh, okay.
That's the official website, and the training modules are all there. And I call that the basic training, which is really useful in helping, but again, there are levels of it, and
Okay.
there are sort of judgments. Oh, you've only done level 1. Oh, there's a level 3 practitioner here. But the training is the same. The experience that you gain is enormous, and is sharing with other practitioners. Then I learned or came in contact with this beautiful woman, Lorna Wilson.
Okay.
And Lorna Wilson does Lorna Wilson Quantum Healing.
Oh, okay.
She was, I believe, a clinical hypnotherapist, and sat in with Dolores Cannon, did Dolores' training in person, and they have a forum.
Okay.
Once you've gone through the training, you can access a forum from other practitioners. Well, Lorna was asked to give advice because questions were asked that Dolores couldn't answer because she was not a fully trained clinical hypnotherapist and in other levels. And Lorna was giving answers and helping other people. Well, then Lorna and another woman who started BQHT, Beyond Quantum Healing, they branched off and do their own training.
Oh, okay.
So I gained more from Lorna Wilson than I did from Dolores because I was already doing a lot of the techniques and the actual script that they use. I was doing that quite naturally in other work I was doing.
Okay.
So, but nevertheless it really helped me, and I've helped a lot of people using that technique. The QHHT people do not want you to do video sessions because remember Dolores passed in 2014.
Yes.
And our video network systems were not as reliable, and she felt you needed to be there in person.
Yes.
So she said, never use
Videos.
things.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
Because at that time it cannot transfer so much data online.
yeah, but now the training, since other training and how you react with people, I do most of my sessions, video sessions now, and I've had the video connection drop off.
Okay.
And I've reconnected, and the person's been aware if it disconnected on their end, they could reconnect and just go straight back into what they were seeing.
Oh, that's good.
So you can be sitting up in your car. I've done sessions, people have been sitting in their car.
Wow.
And
using just the mobile connection.
Yes, with a battery charge.
Yes.
And one man was sitting in his vehicle, and he was I think at that stage his higher self was communicating and talking, and his partner came out and put a face up to the window. He was not aware of that, didn't disturb him at all.
Okay.
So he was quite blown away by that. And another person sat in front of her computer in a computer chair.
Yep.
And the whole time she was in trance, I was fascinated. She had thyroid problems, and there was energy going to that. as well as she went into a different lifetime that explained why. And so she was sitting in this trance state for, again, over an hour, hour and a half. And I was fascinated because there was this light around this area, like, I don't know, 2 parts of a heart, or 2 parts right around this area. And it didn't shift, and I thought, now, if that was sunlight coming through the window, it would move. So the sun moves every 5 minutes, there's a shift.
You
So,
literally see it on the camera? That.
yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I sent the photo to Lorna Wilson, and she said, wow, that's manifestation of the healing. So unfortunately I didn't get any feedback after the session of how the woman felt. She had a lot of help.
Yeah.
So you never know, and people can sit. I had a person involved in the medical profession a week ago, and she sat in front of her computer, and the head naturally moves forward. You know, when we drop off, if we nod off when we're watching television or something,
Yeah.
it's quite natural for the head to slowly come forward, and it actually helps the connection somehow.
Okay.
Rather than people would have said to me, oh no, I have to be lying down in bed.
Okay.
You know, so you actually get out of, that's them trying to control the session. So they're a controller, so you've got to get past that mindset first. I'm digressing from your...
No. It's very helpful, and it's
Yes.
all about, you know, how to...
The training.
The training, yes.
And of course, when you're in, when you know how to meditate and go in, and you can ask to be shown any lifetime that might be affecting you now.
Oh, okay.
But of course you have to be aware enough to get the answers and to clear the pattern. So this is where people who do self-hypnosis to go in, you really need to have someone there facilitating the session, or some way to bring you out of it and to clear the pattern.
Yes, I found
Yes.
that very helpful when you are
Yes.
doing it to me.
Yes.
Because that past life experience I've been shown is
Yes.
too shocking, and I feel I don't have the power to continue.
Yes,
you know.
that's right.
Yeah, seeing
Yes,
it.
you needed the help to clear that.
Yes.
So that's where it's valuable. I'm sure there are techniques that people have available, maybe to get past that, to implant ideas, and even in the video sessions I do, you instruct the subconscious that if for any reason you have to use the bathroom,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like in real person, real live people present, you come back and you just go straight back into that deeper state, and even deeper after any disturbance. So
How can it be so easy? Isn't it just going back to sleep, or because once you get into the word hypnosis, and people always think you are already like unconsciously knocked down sleeping.
yes, no, you have a state of awareness.
Okay.
If you have no awareness, and there are states, and Dolores said, I think it was about 3 people in 100 will go into what they call somnambulistic, where they're not aware of what they're saying.
Okay.
However, there's still a consciousness present,
Yes.
because the consciousness is answering the questions and doing the body scan and any healing that's needed.
Oh.
So it's not like going into deep sleep. When we go into these trance states in hypnosis, and we go into these states normally every day.
And we just don't realize
No,
that, right?
you and I talking, we're in the beta state. Alpha is when your mind is drifting away into thinking of your next question.
Yes.
Or an image comes up, oh, I remember that. Already you're in an altered state of consciousness. And then the next state of theta is where we take you into in the hypnosis session, where you go into experiencing the other lifetimes if that's necessary.
And how do you know the person is in that theta?
There
Yeah.
are signs.
Oh,
The breathing changes, the eyelids flutter, there's REM, there's rapid eye movement, which happens when you're in a dream state when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And that's a sign. Now there are different levels of those as well. And then in sleep, when we go to sleep, we go into a dream state where we see symbols and images. Sometimes we remember, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're just processing things we've seen or heard. Dolores loves to tell us, you don't know, you don't remember going to sleep.
Okay, because you are always working in your mind.
Yeah, you're either dreaming,
and
then in the deep sleep, some people call it delta or gamma or whatever, we're not conscious of that, we're deeply asleep. And then as we're disturbed, we come back up out of sleep, we come back and experience a dream. And this is why often we remember dreams just as we wake up.
Yes, and after a while you forgot everything. Yeah.
Yes.
But just the moment you wake up and you still not realize, is it in the dream or in reality?
Yes, and some of the dreams are you've actually accessed other states of consciousness or messages or beings, people.
Yeah.
And then we're awake again. So it's very natural to go into these states of consciousness. So the training, of course, is to get a person into that theta state and of experiencing, and then just a little deeper where they're not aware of what they're saying, and it changes, and we're taught to recognise the difference.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
I'm very grateful you have shown us so much
information
about spiritual awakening, about past life regression. And one more question. What is your services? The PEMP, right?
PEMF.
Or MF, sorry.
All right. Well, I initiated that because a few years ago I was introduced to a healing machine, pulsed electromagnetic field. And the Earth has a natural electromagnetic field. It's measured. It's not exactly the Schumann resonance that people measure.
No?
And people get all excited. Oh, there's a spike in the Schumann resonance.
Yeah, it was a 7 point something.
Yes,
8, 9.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. Well, we're all connected with the Earth's magnetic field.
Okay.
And we talked earlier about how the energy goes into our energy matrix, and it's actually a two-way thing. It helps us and we help the Earth. It's two-way. Now, when the first people went into space, I think it was a Russian, and I don't think they were away out of the Earth's atmosphere for very long. They came back very unwell.
Yes, he got psychological problems.
Yes, and there was a lot of research into why that happened.
Yes.
And it was revealed it was because they were out of the Earth's natural magnetic field.
Oh.
So then they started putting PEMF units into their spacesuits and into the shuttle and into the space station.
Oh, they did that?
To simulate and provide that natural electromagnetic. Yeah, the body needs it.
Wow.
So I came in contact with this beautiful engineer living in the Bay of Plenty here in New Zealand, and he was creating a machine.
Okay.
And I came in contact with that through a homeopathic practitioner, Janice Priest, and so we worked together. It was magnificent. And then, of course, things evolve, and he realised, oh, it's more than that. And we talked about the scalar field energy. And we felt that the scalar field energy, which is part of the sun's energy of everything, was more naturally accepted by the body in our energy field and cells, everything. Better healing. better upliftment out of depression and all sorts of things. So I started using that, and then I felt I can no longer call what I'm doing PEMF healing. And I meditated on this because previously I was already tuning into person's energy field and calling on the higher self to bring healing in and seeing what was happening.
Yeah.
So when I started using those energy devices, I could see where the energy was going as well.
Can I have a look at that?
Yes, and I'll show you that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And so I changed my website and I now call them personal energy, multi-dimensional field sessions, because that's what I do. That's what I bring through in my energy sessions, and I record those as MP3 voice files, and so people can be anywhere in the world and I can send that off to them. I like to have a photograph, and they feel the energy and they react to it.
Okay.
So, and of course, 2 years ago when this great lockdown happened worldwide, I was not allowing people to come and visit me.
Yes.
So it was really useful to do video sessions and distance sessions.
Oh, okay. But you cannot use the device on people too.
Well, yes, I can, because it's part of distant healing. Energy is everywhere.
And you still can use this.
Yes, I still
through
can.
Video. This device.
Well, yes, through intention and through energy, connecting energy to energy. Energy is everywhere. Goes through the meridians, it goes through the energy matrix around us.
Wow.
So that's a bit of a, some people can't accept
evil.
that.
Yes, because we always limited by our thoughts that it has to be physically connected.
Yes.
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 And yeah.
Yes.
That's another level.
It is, but it's much easier for people like you and I sitting together in the same energy field in this space.
Yeah, it
Perhaps
almost
it would not
doesn't have any delay.
Well, yeah, and it may not have been quite as deep, just if we did it through Skype or Zoom or whatever.
Okay, that's interesting.
And yet the video hypnosis sessions work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still allow this, like physically allowing people into your?
I am
Okay.
again now. Yes.
All right. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah.
Simply because the energy has shifted, despite what we might be told. Much of the level of energy has gone. It's already been transmuted and changed. There's been a shift in what was affecting people.
Okay.
Now, I know, or I am aware that some people are still becoming ill and are not getting well. So, and yet there's a whole lot of other people who are, in fact, more healthier than they've ever been, taking in the vital energy and being aware there's a higher level of existence and power present. So there is, I feel, a definite shift and improvement, and what's happening is, even physically perhaps, but certainly metaphysically, Earth is shifting. It's coming into alignment with a higher field of existence.
Wow.
And so are we.
Yes.
And this is why sometimes we don't feel grounded, we feel disconnected, and that it can be really useful to stand outside, barefoot on the ground if you can, on the grass,
step on the
or
grass.
hold a tree,
Yeah.
and sometimes you might feel, oh, I just have to shuffle around a bit,
Yes.
turn in a different direction, and you might think, oh, it's because I want to face the sun. May not be that. It's just simply you're realigning yourself to universal consciousness.
Wow. Okay. That is so beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, I will put all your website and your services on,
Thank you.
on the video,
Yes.
on the
Yes.
links. And I hope this video can help more people.
Oh,
And
yes.
definitely help me a lot. And I
Yes.
find another path of my next step, what to do.
Yes, exactly. And in whatever way, I just want to say that many of us are connected with beings from other galaxies. Now, the beings I connect with do not say they're from such and such a galaxy or whatever, because it's a collective consciousness, and we've all been in many different places.
It's true.
We're just simply, you might say, we're star beings, we're cosmic beings, yes, and they prefer not to have labels. They do come through with different names often to identify themselves, but they don't label themselves. They want us to just simply awaken to the energy that's presented.
Okay, beautiful.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and I will post the video, and maybe the next one you can show me the energy device, and I will start on the next video.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for allowing me to bring this through, and it's through your questions, of course, that a lot of the information
it come through, and it's so mind-blowing again.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Delia.